So we have our inspector, Dan Pierce, with us today. He's from Arizona. He's going to be presenting for us. He's a senior inspector out of Arizona. He's our lead sewer camera inspector. So we're going over our basic sewer and camera inspections today. That's the inspection from the main line, or the exit line from the house to the main line on the street. So we'll cover all of these through the webinar. We also have our product manager, Melissa Clayton, with us today here too. So without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Dan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for us, please?
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Dan Pierce. I'm a home inspector here in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been with BPG Inspections for 5 years now, doing sewer camera inspections for about 2 years. BPG decided to open up their market, or open up several markets across the country to sewer camera inspections, because they saw a big void in the market. They saw a lot of home buyers that were backing out on sewer camera inspections because the cost was just so high. So for us to be able to offer these sewer camera inspections during the home inspection and get that out of the way really expedites the process of the whole home inspection process and gets that information to the buyer or the seller in some situations a lot quicker, so there's a lot less surprises down the road. So when we're talking about sewer camera inspections, it's a really basic process. It's a simple process, but it does require specialized equipment. So you need to have a specialized camera for it. You need to have a camera that's on a long fiber optic cable that gets down into those pipes. So if you can't get a sewer camera inspection, or you can't get a sewer camera lateral to go down in the pipe, you don't know what those pipes look like. There is no way to determine what the sewer camera is going to pick up until it gets down into those pipes. Every pipe is different, every house is different. We can have problems with new houses, we can have problems with old houses, and as a real estate agent, it's kind of your job and kind of your responsibility to bring that attention to the buyer or to the seller. You know, it's a very easily overlooked system in the house that costs a lot of money to repair. So this is where we fill in the void, and the whole purpose of doing the sewer camera inspection is to find any debris that might be in the system, any bellies that might be in the system, breaks in the line, offset pipes. It's really to just get a visual inspection of that drain system for the buyer so they can make a decision. You know, we can't provide estimates, but we get a good visual to give to the buyer so they can make a good decision with their real estate agent whether they need to get a plumber to come in and do a full repair or just partial repair. What does it involve? It involves me just using a camera on a very specialized system that has a gyroscopic head to it, so we're always level. So when the camera head goes down on the pipe, it does a lot of this back and forth. That camera head is always level, so we're going down into the pipe, and sometimes it goes underwater, telling us that there's a belly in the pipe. Sometimes those are small problems, sometimes they're big problems, but we're not going to know that until that camera gets into that pipe. So it's really important as a real estate agent to be recommending that to your buyer or to your client, just so you know. It's just gambling if you're just going to say, oh yeah, I see ABS cleanouts in the front of your property. You're probably fine. It's probably got ABS out the street. You don't know that. They can install ABS pipe or ABS cleanouts on a cast iron pipe. So just because you see those black cleanouts doesn't mean you have an ABS line. Service lateral is underground. The responsibility of the homeowner, all the way out to the city connection. So you'll see in some of the sewer camera videos that the sewer camera goes in black pipe or rusted pipe or corroded pipe. And then at the end of it, usually about 50, 60 feet, we'll hit a green pipe or a white pipe. And that's the city connection. That's what the city is responsible for. So our job is to get that camera to go all the way down to the pipe to the city connection and then back out, because that's what that home buyer is potentially going to be responsible for, any repairs. After that line, it's kind of on the city. It's usually on the city. Some municipalities are a bit different, but in Phoenix, we're responsible for everything up to that different colored pipe. So property owners, whether you live in a property or you're buying a property, you don't have any sewer camera or sewer issues, you don't know what's going on underground. I've done several sewer camera inspections where there was no problems, but there was an offset pipe and we were leaking sewage underground, or there was a light belly in the pipe, so that really slows down the flow of water. So now you're going to get built up debris building up in the pipe. So everything is going to keep flowing, but there's still going to be some issues in there. Even if it doesn't show or convey on the inside of the house, it's going to show in the sewer camera, and it's going to be very easy to take that evidence take that video to the seller of the property and display it and say, hey, this is what's inside your pipe and we need this to be fixed before we're willing to go forward with the transaction. So we're looking at all the equipment that I use. This is my sewer camera here. This is a very specialized piece of equipment that runs on about 100-foot fiber optic cable. It's like I said, it's got a head that'll stay flat, so it doesn't matter how much, you know, jamming into the pipe that I have to do. It's always going to give me the same visual on the bottom, so I always know if there's, you know, an inch of water in the pipe, a half inch of water in the pipe, or, you know, if there's any damage in there, we're going to be able to know where exactly on the pipe it is, whether it's on the top of the pipe or on the bottom of the pipe. Sometimes that matters to the buyer, sometimes it doesn't. I always carry around some replacement cleanout caps because those black caps, they always break. Landscapers will walk by them, step on them, they'll crack. When they're exposed to the UV light, they get really brittle. That plastic is just easily damaged. So we carry around a few extras just in case they get broken, but it's a very simple process that takes very minimal amount of tools. That specialized camera, the cleanout caps, pipe wrench, gloves, towels, flashlight, and then my laptop to do my report. It's not a very long process. Every house, it takes half hour to an hour to inspect. And then I go home and I'll do the camera report, the sewer camera report at home. That'll take another half hour to an hour. So it's not a overly complicated process, but the information that's provided during the sewer camera inspection is almost priceless. I'd say 1 out of every 4 houses that I do that nobody expects any problems, we run into something that costs between $5,000 and $10,000 to fix. And there's no way of knowing that until you get that camera down there. And many real estate agents will skip right over the sewer camera inspection. And it's a big liability risk for the real estate agents, for the home inspectors, to not be recommending these sewer cameras. Like I said before, we kind of fill in that void. We're cheaper than most plumbers in your area, but we provide the same type of information. What we don't provide is the repairs. So a lot of plumbers will build that price into the repairs, the cost of repairs, but since most of my clients don't own the house yet, it doesn't make sense for them to be paying extra money to pay for the repairs on a house that they might not even purchase. So it makes a lot of sense for me to come in as a home inspector right at the end of my inspection after I've ran all the toilets, ran all the sinks, showers, got everything flowing, to put a camera head down into the pipe and make sure that everything is free and flowing, and we don't have anything built up. All right, when is it recommended? Well, there isn't any situation when buying a house or selling a house I don't recommend getting a sewer camera inspection. Every house has got a possibility of having problems with it. Every home has got a possibility of having a $10,000 bill associated with it immediately after you purchase it. So it only makes sense to get a sewer camera inspection. It's your only way of knowing what's in the pipes underground the house. So any of the new properties, cast iron piping is a big deal. It's always going to be rusted and corroded. Large trees in the front with bushes in the front, or if you see excessive vegetation growing around your sewer lateral, that can sometimes be an indication that you have a leak in that area. Homes with known blockages and backups. At that point, I would almost recommend to go to a plumber if you know that it's got a known problem. We can provide a camera inspection, no doubt, and that'll give you your evidence to negotiate with. But at the end of the day, you kind of want to know what it's going to cost to fix that backup problem. So a plumber might be a better person to call if you know there's going to be some issues in that line. So if there's obviously new cleanouts installed in the front yard, it's not always an indication that they replaced the entire line. Sometimes they just install those cleanouts. I just did a house the other day that black plastic ABS caps in the front. I was like, great, this is going to take me 10 minutes, I'll be done. But when I got underground, it was cast iron under the house, it was cast iron or Orangeburg out to the street. So those were some big repairs. For some reason, that cleanout was installed for access, probably for cleaning out the pipe because they were getting some backups, but it didn't mean that that whole pipe was replaced. So remodeled homes, sometimes you'll find construction debris in there, and new homes, remodeled homes. Some of these new developments that go in, they plug the drain system. So they'll plug the cleanout cap, so anything that gets flushed down the toilets or down the bathtub or anything by the construction workers doesn't go down into the city line. They'll have an opportunity to clean that pipe out before they open that up for the resident. So when somebody moves into their house, it's important to ask that home builder if they remove that plug before they move into the house, because it could cause some issues. All right, like we were talking about, our prices are going to be very competitive to your local plumbers, and we try to price ourselves below that because we're not providing these major repairs, we're not providing the work done. We don't have as many tools as a plumber does, but we can provide you all the information you need during the home buying process to negotiate with when it comes down to having sewer issues underground. And just providing a video with some pictures and a third-party unbiased opinion can go a long way during a transaction negotiation. What are you paying for? You're paying me for my specialized camera. You're paying for the training that I took, my experience, my time, and my expertise in the field of sewer cameras or sewer lines. You're not paying for any type of repairs. That's why I go back to, if you're having issues and this house is known to have issues, or you know it has old pipes, it might make more sense to get a plumber that can give you an estimate to do that. It's not out of the realm to have me do it. It's just your money might be better off spent with an actual plumber. Peace of mind is going to go a long way knowing what's underground. A lot of home buyers don't even realize that there's a sewer pipe. They don't even know what it is. They don't even know it's there. Every house has one, and it gets overlooked a lot by real estate agents. It's very common to see a real estate agent just be like, oh, it's a 10-year-old house, ABS pipes, you don't have anything to worry about. And I used to do that too. I didn't want to create more stress.
I would add to you, Dan, I would just add to that
Yeah.
It's not just real estate agents, it's everyone. It's one of those things that you just don't see on a daily basis, so you don't think about it.
Right. And I don't think about mine either, ever. Until you have a problem, then it becomes a big problem. But taking a look at a couple examples here, we're looking at the front of a garage where you can see the concrete has settled in the front. We've got some buildup of debris, some leaves. So that's telling me that it's a low spot. It's likely collecting water. And this is not going to be good for your plumbing system if you have drain lines mounted below the driveway, because the driveway is just slowly going to be compressing on top of the pipe. So it was really good that we did a sewer camera inspection on this one, because what we found were some offset cast iron pipes. And what happens when the pipes get offset like this, doesn't matter if it's uphill or downhill, now you still have water that can get out of that pipe and create more settlement concerns at the corner of that driveway. So now it's not just settling because of roof runoff or driveway runoff, it's settling because of sewage buildup in that area. So it's very important to get under there. And this repair is probably going to take digging up the slab to do this repair. So it's going to be expensive, very expensive. The buyer walked away on the deal. They were grateful that they had the sewer camera inspection, that they didn't have to pay for it, but now the seller has to deal with it, and they probably weren't aware of it either. So as a listing agent, it's a good idea to get a sewer camera inspection so you don't have to face this. Now that seller is probably going to sit on that house for another week or two until another buyer comes through, and then they're going to have to disclose that or repair it. It just slows down the process by not getting these inspections done sooner than later. And it costs thousands of dollars. Every repair on a plumbing system is going to be over $1,000. There's hardly anything that's cheap when it comes to these repairs. So the buyer walked away and found another house. So we're saved the day on that one, but not all the time can we save the day, because not everybody gets a sewer camera inspection. Cleanouts are usually found outside the home, near the foundation, in the basement, or in the crawl space. And that's what we were talking about before, those black cleanouts. They could be black cleanouts in the front yard, they could be in the backyard, depending on what year your house was built. Here in Phoenix, some of the older houses drain out to the alley in the back. Most of the newer developments will drain out to the street in the front. And sometimes even in the close developments where a lot of these houses are just wall to wall, they'll have cleanouts in the driveway and we'll have brass caps on top of them. So there's no problem with that. We just have to make sure that there's no settlement going on in that driveway when those pipes are below that concrete, because that's a lot of weight, and all that weight can push around on those pipes and create some problems underground that you're not going to know until you get that camera down in there. Some cleanouts are going to be buried, non-existent. It's one of my biggest issues doing sewer camera inspections, is trying to find the cleanouts. If I can't find a clean out on the front or the back of the house, I'm not a plumber, so I'm not going to be pulling toilets or pulling sinks to get access to the drain system. So my only option at this point is to go up to a roof vent stack that goes down into the plumbing system, and that'll drop my camera 15 feet down from the roof surface, and then it starts to go horizontal. So I've got 100 feet of cable. We've got a 15-foot drop, so I can get roughly 85 more feet of my lateral done. And chances are I'm not going to get out to the city. Chances are I'm not going to get that whole pipe inspected. And that's why cleanouts are that important. You're not going to get a visual of the pipe system without those cleanouts put in. They're called access points. And it's good to have that access point, not just for cleaning, but for inspecting and knowing what's underground. Frequently they're broken, and we try to carry around a few of the caps with us on site, so if they get broke, if we break them, just trying to unscrew them, or if they were broken when we get there, we'll just replace it. We don't want those sewer gases to be escaping out, whether it's in your front yard or your backyard. We don't want you to be breathing that in, so we cap those off. Yeah, so we're looking at a few cleanouts. The ones on the very far right of your screen are your typical black ABS cleanouts. It's called a bullhorn cleanout. One pipe is going to go down and angle off underneath the house. The other pipe is going to go down and angle out to the street. And that gives us access in both directions of the pipe, so we can usually get your entire system scoped when we have cleanout. But sometimes they're really hard to get to. You can see it's in the slab there on the left-hand side. It's really hard to get anything in there to unscrew that cap down. So in a situation like that, we're probably going to recommend that they mount that in a different location, but we're going to do our best to get the camera down in there. And the ones in the middle, you know, they're all sorts of different cleanouts depending on what part of the country you're in, what year your house was built in. But like I said, that's probably the hardest thing I have, is finding these cleanouts and digging them. So we don't use a locator with BPG inspections. Most of us don't use locators. We do use some third parties that use a locating service, and it would be helpful in certain situations if you can get access to that pipe, say underneath of a sink, and get in underneath where the cleanouts are supposed to be, and then you could use a locator to find where to dig to find those cleanouts. But other than that, there's no real sense for us to use a locator because we're not doing your repairs. We're not doing the digging. So I don't want to mark something in your backyard and 3 days later have a company come in and dig 5 feet away from it because the landscaper moved that flag 5 feet over. It creates a lot of liability for us. So it's really the company that does the repairs should be doing the locating of the problem, so they dig in the right spot. We're not 311. We do our best to find the problem, but we shouldn't be locating it and then having another company dig to find those problems. We're looking at a few issues of roots. So some things that happen with clay tile pipes fairly often is roots will get in where the two pipes connect. So clay pipes are not a solid connection. They leave these little gaps where these roots are very easily pushed through, and the clay will break. If you've got pressure from some roots, you'll get that clay to crack underground. Just like in that middle picture, the roots are just crushing that pipe. And now you're just gonna have constant backups. Yeah, you could get a roto-rooter in to clean that out, but the pipe is broken. And if you're buying that house, you're gonna wanna get that replaced. And that might entail removing the tree to get access to the drain pipe because it's right below where the tree is. This is an inexpensive problem. We don't run into this with all pipes. ABS pipes don't have as many roots. You can still have problems because you still have junctions, but clay pipes on your older houses are going to have more issues like this just because of how they're made and how many openings there are. There's a lot more of those intersections or joints than there is in ABS. Belly is a low point in your pipe. Some bellies are a big problem, some bellies are a little problem. Most of the time I see a belly, I'm concerned about it slowing down the flow of water. So when you're draining water out of a house, you want a good flow to make sure that that water gets out to the city. If you've got a pipe that kind of has one of these in it, a belly, it's really going to slow down the flow of water. And now you're going to build up debris and everything else inside this little belly. And if you don't run your plumbing system for a while, it'll build up on the walls and get hard and crusty, and then you'll have to clean it out. So smaller bellies that don't build up debris, usually not a problem that needs to be fixed or addressed. bigger bellies where it starts collecting debris and causing slowdowns in the flow should be addressed. So sometimes bellies are going to be red action items, sometimes bellies are going to be blue consideration items. Definitely talk to your inspector about it and get the best course of action for your situation.
Just giving a little background on that one also, that property was a new construction property, like Dan talked about before, where sometimes they'll get construction materials down into the line. Well, unfortunately, this one, they didn't clear the line in it. And as soon as we went out there, we actually did this property in Georgia for a realtor that wanted a scoping done on their new construction house they were buying. And as soon as the vendor that we use in this area went into that line, they ran some water to lubricate the line, and they pretty much within, the first 15 feet started finding, pretty high water level in there. The suds that were coming up from that material that got put in down there, and then they had to come back on a new construction home that they were releasing to someone and completely fix the stuff they put down there. Unfortunately, sometimes they don't clear those lines, or someone forgets to, or something. One puts something down afterwards, and this is kind of the result that you see of some of that stuff.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, every new house is got some type of debris in the pipes, and we just need to get in there and make sure that everything's cleared out. It's a really good practice to do it on a new house, just to CYA a little bit, cover your butt. So the next slide we're looking at is a misaligned joint, which in other terms I call it an offset pipe, because the two pipes don't quite line up properly. Just like we looked at in a couple slides before, it creates those gaps to where water can leak out, bugs can crawl in. Usually when I'm doing a sewer camera inspection and I see a couple cockroaches flying up the camera or up the video at me, it's telling me that there's a crack in the pipe, there's an offset pipe, there's somewhere where those cockroaches are getting in. It's possible that they're coming up from the city connection, but sometimes they just come in through the cracks and breaks in the pipe. So I'm really looking hardcore. If you've got cockroaches in your house and you have an older house, there's a possibility that you have a drain line issue and they're coming in through your drain pipes. But yeah, we need to get somebody in there to clean it out. The debris that builds up, now this can also be caused by a belly. A big belly can create clogs like this. This could be a really big belly where all the debris is getting stuck in the bottom of the belly. You can see in the top right, we're starting to build up some debris, some gunk, and the more that you build up in the pipe, the more it grabs everything else that flows after it. So it doesn't get any better. It's not self-cleaning. These pipes can be hydrojet maintained. So you get a power washer that goes down on the pipe and cleans everything off. Certain pipes, certain pipe materials, you can use a roto-rooter that gets in there and cleans off the walls of the pipe. But when you've got excessive rust and buildup like this in a collapsed pipe, there's no cleaning it out. There's no fixing it at this point. You have to replace it. You can remove all that debris, but all that debris is falling off the walls of your pipe. So now your structural integrity of that pipe is, compromised. So anybody buying that house is going to want to get a new drain pipe installed, or at least compensated for a new drain pipe. And that's where those sewer cameras, those reports really come in handy during negotiations. So a rust scale buildup, we're going to see this on our cast iron pipes. The left side, it's typical to see a little bit of scale, little bit of pitting, nothing crazy. At this point in their life, cast iron is going to be rusted. It is going to be scale buildup, just like it is on the right side. And all those little rough edges, just like they grab my camera head and grab the camera cable and cut it, it grabs all the debris that comes down that line and it builds up on the side of the pipe, and it just gets worse and worse. Just a quick story about these cast iron pipes. I did a townhouse in Scottsdale about 4 months ago, and it was completely burned down before they sold it. So they rebuilt it from the ground up, slab on grade. So everything above that slab was replaced brand new. And it was a townhouse, one in about 12 buildings identical in a row. But this one was brand new because it had been burned down. But when we did the sewer camera inspection, we found a blue lined cast iron pipe. So they had come in through and they had lined that cast iron pipe. It was still all pitted. You could see all the bumps and bruises all over in it. But for the most part, the flow was still good because they put a new liner in it. But that buyer, they should understand that that pipe is original to the house. It was not replaced with 99% of the rest of the things in that house that were replaced after the fire. The only thing I can understand is the insurance company didn't approve to put a new cast iron pipe in there, but they did approve to maybe line it because it wasn't damaged during the fire. So now you're buying a condominium or a townhouse that has a sewer pipe that is not only 40, 50, 60 years old, but it's lined, and you were told that it was brand new when in essence it was just lined with a plastic liner. So you'll get some years out of it. You might even get a warranty from the company that did the lining work, but you're not going to get a brand new pipe like they were asking. And the deal fell through. There was nothing I could do about it. I just presented the facts the way they were. And the buyers, they couldn't get any negotiations out of it because the sellers assumed that it was a brand new pipe. So we just went back and forth on that a little bit. So there's going to be situations like that where you just can't predict what the sellers are going to do or predict what they know about their own sewer pipe, and that's why you need to hire somebody to get in there and get that information for you so you can make a better decision than the information they have. So now we're looking at the inside of the pipe. There's rust and corrosion. This is typical when we see orange. If you're looking at a sewer camera inspection and you see any orange, you're probably in a cast iron pipe, you're probably in a metal pipe, and it's rusting and corroding. And the inside of those pipes don't go get any better. You might even get some rats, some snakes, some spiders, some cockroaches crawling at you, and those are usually indicating that there's a break in the line. They're getting access to your drain line somewhere, so it's really important to get those cleaned out. You don't want some of those coming up the shower drain or the toilet drain for that matter. Having an older home and a great home inspection, but no sewer camera inspection, can lead to a very costly upgrades. We're looking at this call out. Now this is what you're going to see on one of our inspection reports. This is an action item because it's red, and we're looking at the inside of these pipes. The root growth is actually starting to block the flow of water going down the pipe. So the more root growth that is in these pipes, the slower the water flows goes down. And we can't even get a visual of where the pipe is broken because the roots are stopping the camera head. So we get down as far as we can. Sometimes we can't get to the city because things will block our travels. So there might be a 10-foot section that we can't get into and we can't examine because of the root growth. At that point, we're going to call out a plumber to come and clean this line out and do another sewer scope to get that remaining 10 feet aligned to make sure that the remaining 10 feet looks good. Now, if you have root growth, there's probably going to be some issues in the pipe, so you're going to want that plumber to provide you an estimate for the repairs as well. Orangeburg, lovely Orangeburg pipe. I don't know how many people across the country have to deal with it, but we have it in a couple of towns here in Arizona, and if we run into it, it's time to remove it. It's basically cardboard paper surrounded by tar, and there's nothing really protecting that structurally besides tar paper or cardboard and tar. So the more time goes on, that pipe starts looking oblong, the pipe starts getting wider and shorter, and the bottom of the pipe will actually be completely deteriorated because there's been so much water and debris blowing through that Orangeburg pipe. Now the camera head is just traveling on rocks and debris in the bottom of the pipe, and there's no pipe on the bottom. So Orangeburg that's been installed in the 50s, 60s needs to be removed. There's no house where Orangeburg is still in really good condition that I have seen. So this is a big job. They don't put Orangeburg underneath a house. It's usually from the house out to the street and the yard. So a repair like this, you're anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 in Arizona anyway. It's a big chunk of change to put towards a house, and if you don't have that sewer camera inspection, you can't ask for it. You don't even know to ask for it. It's as simple as that. So there's always things that we can do to provide you more information. Those sewer camera inspections are a big step and a big addition to our company, BPG Inspections. Realtors need to trust us to come in and provide that information to them and their client. We are an unbiased opinion. We're not trying to sell you any repairs. We're not trying to push you to get a replacement. We are trying to protect your client the best we can. So it really builds trust between the real estate agent and the client, when the real estate agent is recommending these sewer camera inspections, we want you guys to take the credit for it. As the agents, we want you to say, hey, I was the one that recommended it. Look at what we found. We found this major problem underground. I saved the day. That's fine. I want you to take the credit for it. You know, be the hero to your client's eyes. That's fine with us. We're going to do our work. We're going to get paid for our work. We're going to find that information. We're going to give it to you. But we want you to be recommending this to your clients because it's going to save the day more times than it's not. If you're not recommending it and a problem comes and you're just exposing yourself to an increased amount of liability if a problem does arise, you know, then you're going to have to face those problems after the sale. So repairs to the drain lines are super expensive, so get your estimates. If you know that that house has got some problems, if you are buying a house and you're a real estate agent, you know that there's Orangeburg in the backyard, the seller has told you, it's not that I don't want your money, I do. I would love to work for you, but spend that money wisely and just have somebody provide an estimate what it's going to cost to remove that. There's no sense in me coming in to do a sewer camera inspection on something that you know already needs repaired. But I'll gladly do it if you just want to negotiate repairs at the end with the seller. But I think that's about it. Our sewer camera reports are really basic. I've never written one over 5 pages long. We throw some pictures in there. We throw a link to a YouTube video unlisted, so you can share that link with anybody that you would like to watch that, both the seller or the agent on both sides. So that's your negotiating power, and we're gonna take pictures of the major problems and put them in the report so you have a paper version of it as well. But you'll get this within 24 hours. Most of our inspectors get them in within 12 hours, but 24 hours at the latest.
Yep. And again, this is a copy of our report. It may look different in some of your markets out there if it's a third-party vendor, just FYI.
Correct. Yeah. Pretty basic all the way around. Yep. You got your basic advice for homeowners. Use only dissolving toilet paper products. Don't put grease down the toilets or the drains. When you're using a disposal, run it for a couple minutes. You can throw some ice down there to help break stuff up and get some of that smell down. That's not a problem. But don't put anything that's going to stick on the walls of the inside of the pipe. You know, just use your common sense on that. High pressure water jetting is the best way to clean out the inside of these pipes. Sometimes they can use little metal roto rooters that bang around on the inside of the pipes. Well, you can imagine what that would do to the inside of a clay tile pipe. If the wrong person or they use the wrong equipment, instead of just using water to clean off the inside of the pipe, if they use metal, something banging around on the inside of the pipe, they could create a lot of damage. So it's things that you need an unbiased eye to examine and give you that evidence for. So annual maintenance, biannual maintenance, I would recommend biannual maintenance on most homes just to get the lines cleaned out, to make sure everything is nice and flowing good down the pipes. So I'll open up the floor to any questions that anybody has, or Jason, I'll hand it back to you. You probably have some from the Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you there so much for your time there, Dan. So we had a question about repair estimates, why they vary. Again, we don't provide any estimates. I can't help you out there. We're just doing the sewer inspection, letting your clients know there's an issue. What is a belly in a pipe? That's just the low point in the pipe. You just want it to be straight. You know, belly's a lower point in the pipe there. A commercial broker, is the cost and process different from residential? Melissa, do you have any experience from our vendors on commercial side?
Yeah, so for the commercial side, it's really not much different. The pricing is going to be a bit different because you're potentially looking at multiple lines. Opposed to with residential, most residential properties are going to only have one line, unless if they have like a guest house or, you know, a garage or something else that's got plumbing in it. That's going to be your biggest difference with commercial. A lot of times commercial lines, whether it's going to be, you know, a multifamily property, usually each multifamily unit has its own lateral line. Sometimes they connect together. Biggest difference between commercial and residential is the amount of time you're going to spend on a commercial property. It's going to take you a bit longer because there's going to be more scoping that needs to be done. But the knowledge is mostly the same between both residential and commercial.
Perfect. If you have any questions, please type them in here. We'll answer them out for you here at the end here. Can or will you pull a toilet to run the camera? We do not. We are not licensed plumbers. We are not pulling toilets. So that is something that a plumber would do. We're just providing through the main line, the exit there, the sewer camera inspection. Is there a certain number?
That some of our vendors will do toilet pulls. That is and outside the company thing. Anything inside of BPG, we do try to go through accessible stacks in the roof, or if we find the cleanout is always going to be our first access point. But just so you know, depending upon what area that you're located in, if we do have a vendor, they do offer toilet pulls.
Is there an additional fee for that? I believe there would be, right?
Yes, there is. Now, if they're doing a toilet pull, please know that they have to completely remove the toilet, and they have to replace that wax ring in there as well. So there is an additional expense to that, because there's an additional expense to making sure that the toilet's reset properly and that we have a new wax ring.
Yeah, but dealing with BPG, you're just going to be getting the sewer camera inspection, no toilets pulled. So, is there a certain number of years old home that you should definitely have a sewer scope? As we've discussed, even new construction has problems, so any age home. We showed a picture there with trees in the front yard. If you see something like that, this has become a hot topic in all of our markets. One of the reasons why we're putting this on, it is something that agents are asking for in all of our markets, and we're finding issues in all of our markets. So I would definitely recommend on any age home. In a condo development, isn't the drain... Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jason. I would also add to that and just say to everyone that with the sewer camera inspection, like we said before, there's no way to really look and see that there's problems. Even with new construction, we've come out to new construction where, you know, the plumber has just forgotten to glue the PVC together. You know, we talked about Bellies a lot of times. You know, on newer homes, you can get Bellies from them just running heavy equipment over where the line was installed. You know, on older homes, you see Bellies because compaction over years just happens to you know, drive that belly down. You know, so any sort of house can have problems. It doesn't matter if it's a brand new house or a 100-year-old house. Now, having said that, that 100-year-old house is more than likely going to have a lot more issues than a newer home, but you see them in all kinds of construction.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. In a condo, isn't the drain pipe the development's responsibility? Would you require the associate's approval before you do a sewer scope inspection? Have you heard of narrow sewer drain pipes?
Yeah, there are some narrow sewer drain pipes. I just throw my 2 cents into this quick. I've run into a few condos where they have their own drain cleanouts associated with every unit, and then I've run into certain associations where they have a centralized drain located. So if it's a centralized drain, no, we're not responsible for that, and I would question even selling a sewer camera inspection at that point. But if it had their own cleanouts to the city line, definitely. I would definitely get that looked at.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah, I was going to add to that too, Dan, just to let you know, part of that depends on your municipality too. I know here in Georgia where we're located, there are some subdivisions where, you know, their communities and the subdivision is, they're responsible for that entire community and everything like that. So really it's dependent upon where you're looking at, how it's set up for that area.
Perfect. Do they have Orangeburg pipe in Colorado or California? I'm not sure. Dan's in Arizona. I don't know if we have any experience with that in everywhere in other markets, but you could definitely ask.
I believe in California we do see Orangeburg. Like Dan said, it's not very, you know, it's not on every house, but, you know, we do rarely see some Orangeburg. I'm going to be honest with you, in Colorado, I'm not sure we have a vendor, and I just haven't seen anything come across, but I'm just not 100% sure on that.
Yeah. And we briefly touched on this. How's the scope different in a townhouse or a condo unit, different from a single-family home sewer inspection? Dan, you basically touched on it there with the different kind of lines.
Yep, it all depends on what it has. Some of them are different than others. Some are meant to be completely standalone units with walls adjoining. Some are meant to be, you know, they're converted apartments. So yeah, it just depends, and the home inspector would have to look at it.
Yeah. And then why trees in front yard, not backyard? That's my fault. I just said trees in the front yard from that picture that we saw. anywhere where the main drain line is what we're talking about, where you see trees grow over. So if the cleanout's in the front of the yard and you see a bunch of trees in the front of the yard, you might want to be concerned. If the cleanout's in the back of the yard and you see a bunch of trees in the backyard, you might have some concern. We always like to tell agents too, that's something to look for when you're doing your walkthroughs with your clients on properties, to kind of keep an eye out as you guys are walking the exterior to notice the drain line. Sometimes you'll see them, like, I know at my house it's very visible in my backyard. It's protrudes upside the ground a little bit. So that kind of gives you an idea too where it's located and if the cap is broken or anything like that. Sometimes when you see it, you can see puddling around the exit line there. So just something to look for there. But that's what we were talking about with the trees. If you know where the clean out is in the front yard or the backyard, see a bunch of trees, you just want to be concerned with that maybe. So that's all of the questions that have come in. Anybody else have anything else? If not, we appreciate your time today. Feel free to type them into the chat here. We're happy to help answer any questions. We'll stay on here another minute or so. You can feel free to reach us at our 800 number there, or visit us on our website. You can always schedule an inspection with us here through BPG. We want to be a one-stop shop for you guys. But other than that, that'll be concluded for us today. We appreciate everyone's time. If you don't have any other questions, please feel free to exit. We'll hang out here for a few minutes if you want to type something in the chat. We appreciate everyone's time today.
Hey, I'll throw this out there. If anybody wants to watch any of the sewer camera videos that I have taken, I've put a few on our YouTube channel and kind of edited them out so you can, it's for educational purposes. But I put them on my YouTube channel. If you just search for Home Inspector Dan on YouTube, you'll find it there. Or if you just search homeinspectordan.com and you want to ask me any questions about the sewer camera process or any questions about the sewer line, just go to the bottom of the page at homeinspectordan.com. You'll find all my contact information down there, and you can get an easy link on the bottom there to go right into BPG inspections to schedule me as well.
Great, thank you. Let's see here.
Great resources, and thank you for joining us on this one.
Yep. One last question that came in. Do you report on every offset, even if there is an obvious boot installed?
What was the question again, Dan? Jason? I'm sorry.
Do you report on every offset, even if there is an obvious boot installed? B-O-O-T, boot.
Yes, I'll report on a boot just being installed. Just because there's a boot installed, yeah, a boot is a temporary fix. In my mind, it's a temporary fix. A lot of people make these boots or the rubber junctions a permanent fix. But yeah, I will call those out because those have a higher likelihood of failing than the pipe does themselves. So I will just call them out so the homeowner knows about it. It doesn't need to be a problem, but it's definitely a consideration item, something they should understand and know that's there.
Yeah, good point. I didn't even know they would do that. What's the point of doing a boot versus doing the whole thing? So
shortcut.
Save money, I guess. Yeah. Yep. But great question. Thank you for asking that, Lori. Hope that took care of it for you there. Well, I don't see anything else coming in, guys. We'll go ahead and wrap this up here today. We're about 10 minutes to the hour here. Appreciate everybody's time today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your local inspector or give us a touch here at BPG. Other than that, everyone go out there and have a great day and stay safe. We appreciate your time.